Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Dayna Show. I'm your host, Dayna Kaplan, and I am so incredibly pumped because today is episode 70. It's an epic milestone for me, and I'm so grateful that you're here to share it. If you've been on this journey with me, please subscribe to my channel, follow me on social media, and like and comment below. It really helps keep the show growing. Sharing this 70th episode with you during Passover feels so significant. This holiday is the story of our journey from slavery to freedom, and it's a reminder that the hardest, most painful moments in life are often what catapult us into our brightest future. In our history, the darkness of slavery led us directly to our greatest gift, the land of Israel. I want you to remember that today. Out of the hard times we are going through right now, we're going to see the biggest lights. It is all going to be worth it because we are going to bring peace to this region that the world has never experienced before. My blessing for all of us is that we always stay on the high ground, love one another fiercely, and never forget the miracle of where we are. And that brings me to my guest today, Jonny Daniels. If you follow what's happening in Israel right now, you know Jonny. He's the person everyone turns to for the honest, unfiltered truth. He's a proud, confident Zionist who isn't afraid to tell it like it is, but he does it with so much heart. He's become a beacon of comfort for many people who are looking for clarity in the middle of this war. And I have to be vulnerable with you. This conversation with Jonny completely changed my energy. He made me feel safe. He made me feel so much more at ease about the direction of our country in a way that I haven't felt in a very long time. He's a reminder of why we stand tall, and I hope you all feel the same security and pride while you listen. Wishing you all a happy, peaceful Passover, a Chag Kasher v'Sameach, Am Yisrael Chai. Let's get into it. What I want to say now, Jonny Daniels, is that this is episode 70.
Wow.
And Jonathan Pollard was here for episode 50.
Okay.
Okay, so I feel like all of my big numbers, I'm having really amazing guests. You're in the same category for me. You are inspiring for me.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I'm not sure how I feel being
Lumped into Jonathan
lumped to Jonathan
Pollard.
Pollard. And in all honesty, I'm not sure how I feel about Jonathan Pollard, if I'm being very honest.
I know. He's controversial.
You know what? First of all, I think that the most important thing to say is everything from my perspective is on the record, right? There's nothing that I hide. There's nothing, and feel free to ask me anything you
Okay.
like. Truly anything. There's nothing, don't feel ashamed or embarrassed, nothing that you can't ask. You know, look, from a perspective of Israel, obviously Pollard was a hero and did something incredible. You know, however, he also committed a crime. And
But he saved a lot of people.
he did. And again, from a perspective of Israel, he's a hero. In terms of how much we need to push that in the faces of our allies is something that I'm not entirely sure about. I don't know how I feel about it. Look, at the end of the day, it's different times today.
Yeah.
Right? You know, we're dealing with a time where everything is so political. And the United States is by far our biggest and best ally, as is evident of the last 3 weeks, more than any other time. We need to tread very, very carefully.
Yeah.
And parading someone who spied for us on them around isn't the best look, I don't think. You know, again, you see him say thank you.
When I grew up, he was a household name.
Right.
You know, like I remember putting up stickers, signing petitions and stuff like that. That's how I grew up. I know that he's a controversial figure. I've gotten a lot of backlash for having him on the show
Right.
as well. But he still represents a very important part of our history.
I worked in the Knesset at the time, and I remember people coming and talking about him being released. And in all honesty, it was kind of a thing of like, you know, again, if I was to put myself on the line to do something like that, and I was caught, my punishment is valid.
Okay. And he served his time.
Fair enough. But to lobby to have someone released for that, I'm also not sure is the best use
Yeah.
of.
And he also wants to go get into the government now
That's
as
not going to
well.
happen. That's not going to happen. And honestly, it shouldn't happen. It
Right.
shouldn't happen.
Right.
Again, he did something remarkable. I'm sure he has a lot to say.
Yeah.
But look, you can't. Someone like that who did something like, okay, fair enough. He should do many things. He could go on a speaking tour. He can write books. I'm sure his book would be fascinating. Does he have a book? I don't know.
I don't think so.
But if he had a book, I'd read that.
Yeah.
I'd find that very, very interesting.
Yeah.
I'd like to know the behind the scenes. As someone who finds this world very interesting. But to put him in a position of government, I think is incorrect. I'm pretty sure he can't travel to the United States. So
Yeah, I don't think he can.
yeah,
I don't think he can.
not surprising.
It was just surreal to meet him.
Oh,
he just represented something that
I've met him before and I've said
Yeah.
hello and,
Yeah.
and this and that. But again, it's tricky and especially today when things are so fraught
Oh yeah.
and everything is so politicized. One has to be extraordinarily careful.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean that you shouldn't interview him. I think that was a good thing for you to do.
That's what I've had some even more controversial people than him.
Who's the most controversial person you had?
Amir Khatroni. You know who he is?
Yeah,
My son stopped talking to me
really.
for a month after I had him.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well,
He
it's like
was
having like
really
Guido Levy,
angry.
right? It's like,
He's really against this country,
Yeah.
but he's against everything. He's a very angry person, you know?
yeah. I mean, look, to be honest with you, I'm very much, my general perspective on almost all of these things is that the more oxygen we give to idiots, the more they live. And what we need to be doing is, especially with people like him, and even like all this nonsense in the States with Tucker Carlson and
Right.
Candace Owens, the best thing that we can do is ignore it.
You think so? You think it'll just
100%.
go away if you ignore it?
It won't go away, but we don't give it so much oxygen. We're all limited in our lives in terms of the energy that we have
Right,
and how much we can use and what we should be using it for.
right.
The more energy you spend on negativity, the less you're spending it on goodness. So I don't want to give any of my thought process. I don't want to give any of my time. Like, I have a very, active social media. I'm 40 million views monthly on my content. I never write about these people because I don't want to give them oxygen.
Yes.
And people say, well, why aren't you talking about that? I don't want to.
Right.
I don't want to. I don't believe that there's a need in providing more airtime for morons. And the same is, it's true of Jonny, it's true of people like Gidon Levy, of all these idiots in Haaretz, people who are not just angry, but they're bitter.
They're very bitter.
And it's rotten, is
Yeah.
what it is. Like there's no. When you get sucked into this negativity, you rot yourself out from the inside. I have no hatred in myself for anyone or anything. I don't have time for it. Right? Like I can, even people I'm supposed to hate, it's just, or you can understand it.
Yeah.
Right? Look, the extremist Islamists, right? I don't like them, right? But I get what they're trying to do, right? They're trying to push their crooked religion and their nonsense everywhere. Fair enough. I'm not going to lose sleep over it. What's the point?
But my goal was to get to the source of why he behaves the way he does. And that's what I want from all my guests. I want to talk more. I want for people to understand not necessarily what they do, but why they do the things they do.
Right.
And I think through that interview, I really enjoyed it because I really exposed how sad and angry of a person he is.
Right.
When I look at him and I hear all the crap that comes out of his mouth, I don't hear the crap. I see a very sad person.
Right.
And I think that's one of the messages I got across in the interview. And I think it helped a lot of people understand, not to relate to him, not to understand him, but to see him for what he is. And it kind of lessens all of the excitement around him?
Again, look, we all have a place in this world, and we're all entitled to do how we feel. And I mean, I wouldn't have necessarily said it was a terrible thing for you to interview
No,
him.
listen, and I told him
Right,
before the interview, you're not going to convince me of anything. I feel the
right,
way I feel. This is not a debate,
right,
because we'll never agree
right,
on anything.
right.
So we didn't talk so much about Zionism. We didn't talk so much about Israel. He told me how much his mother hated him, and like the message
Yeah,
came
but
through.
right,
But I don't want to talk about him anymore.
right.
Okay, I have a gift for you.
Thank you so much.
Please.
Thank you.
And I
Should
hope
I
you
open
like it.
it?
Yes, I hope you like it.
Oh, love it.
Really?
Absolutely.
So this company, you asked me before about sponsors and
Yeah.
monetization. They're sort of like my sponsor. They have this amazing company. They have all these like Zionistic socks. They have presidents, they have shakshuka, they have Bisley, they have all these really cute things. So I'm giving one to each of my guests. And I hope this is the right
You
sock
know
for
what?
you.
With I don't know how much research you did, but this is definitely the right sock for me.
Okay.
Menachem Begin is, they play that game of if there's one person you could meet from history
Yes.
and have dinner with, for me it's Menachem Begin.
Really? Oh my
Unquestionably.
God.
Unquestionably.
Oh my God.
Menachem Begin's story resonates very, very much with me. From his, I've spent a lot of time through Eastern Europe. I spent a lot of time
Yeah.
with my organization doing that stuff. And like, I know where Begin grew up. His entrance to the Anders army. I know General Anders' daughter very well. I've met people from Anders' army. I understand his history in a way that not many people, especially my age, do, because I've kind of spent time in those places. And then the way he came to Israel and his love for all Jews and his strength, absolute strength, and his character, right? Him and his wife living in a small apartment in Tel Aviv, and just the way he dealt with himself and handled himself, and his heartbreak after soldiers dying under his watch, and just everything about him leads to this, position of just unbelievable leadership and true, heroism from a Jewish perspective. There are few people like Menachem Begin.
Yeah.
And honestly, like that is, even now, like I was having this conversation on the other day. It's like, well, who would you like to sit for dinner with? Like, if you could go for anyone with dinners, I don't know. Like, I've met everybody I kind of want to meet. There's no one I'm particularly in. Like, to be honest, would go for dinner. But my kids, like my girlfriend, like, I'm happy. Like, I don't need much more than that. I'm not excited by people. But Begin is someone I would have loved to have sat with.
Do you think there's anyone in our government now that has the vision from any of those like founding people from that time?
Netanyahu, unquestionably.
Really?
Unquestionably. You don't have to like him, and many people don't.
Yeah.
And so much of this is politics and all this, but you can't question the fact that Netanyahu definitely views himself as a historical figure for the Jewish people, and he is. He is. Again, there are so many things that you can dislike about policy, right? Which is part of life. There's no one you're going to agree with on everything,
Yeah.
right? But in terms of his approach to the world and his approach to Israel, and even when we look at the issue of Iran, right? And how he's dealing with Iran and how he, was speaking about this for years. And he definitely is a historic figure for the people of Israel and for around the world and in Jewish history. He will be remembered in Jewish history as a leader of the people. Now, again, whether everybody will like that memory, and there'll be many things that people will be upset about, that's fair enough. But I don't think there's a question that he views himself from this kind of, third person perspective, right? Meaning, I'd never talk about myself as Johnny, right?
Right.
It's me, right?
Yeah.
But someone like that views themselves in the perspective of Netanyahu and like views themselves in the mindset of I am something else. A friend of mine is a very high level journalist here in Israel, and he was on one of these trips with the government to a foreign country, and they have these Friday night dinners. And he found himself at a point with the top table was Bibi was sitting there with Sarah, with his wife, and suddenly they were by themselves. So he thought, I'm going to take this opportunity and go and sit with them. And he went and he sat down with them at the table. And they had a very frank and open conversation. And Sarah turned around to him and said to him, "You know that you're sitting with a truly historic figure of the Jewish people." He sat there and he was like, wow, like his wife really thinks that, and when your wife thinks that of you, you think that of yourself. And I'm not sure she's wrong in thinking that either. Again, we don't have to like him, but there isn't any question that he has given his entire life to serving the people of Israel.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So I do think that there are reasons behind that. I've worked with many, many politicians, and I know almost all of them. Do I think that 90-something% of them are in it for the wrong reasons? Absolutely.
Really?
Unquestionably. It's power, it's a feeling of strength, it's money, it's connection. Do I really believe that they're waking up in the morning and saying, how can I benefit the Jewish people? No. Right? Unfortunately. But this is the same all around the world, and this is the system in which we find ourselves. It's no different from anywhere else.
Yeah. I wish the politicians had our security more as a priority than their own hitkadmut, their own advancing.
I'm not sure how much I'd agree with that. I think that, especially in a place like Israel, which is such a small country where everybody has families, there is much more that goes on behind the scenes than we realize.
I sure hope so.
I promise you.
Yeah.
And from a perspective of everybody, again, you don't have to like the players, right?
Right.
But there's like, it doesn't matter. It's kind of like, and I explain this to people all the time, is that, people view the last 2 years since October 7th, and all around the world, it's Netanyahu's war, right? It wouldn't have made a difference if Naftali Bennett, if Yair Lapid, if Eisenkot were the prime minister during this time. The war would have almost exactly been the same. The way that we fought the war, maybe timings would be different.
Why? Because
Right.
the United States is in charge?
No, not because the United States is in charge, it's because at the end of the day, there's a limited play that we can have here. The United States most definitely isn't in charge.
They have a big say.
Of course they do, and especially now they have a big say because we're reliant
Right.
on the support of President Trump for dealing with things that we need dealt with.
Right.
But if the situation was different and Kamala Harris would have been the president right now,
Right. Then we would have been real big.
no, the situation would have just been different. Meaning,
Right.
this reliance isn't reliance as much as it's allyship, right? And we have to understand this, that Israel is incredibly strong. Israel is a strong country. And whether people realize that necessarily or not, to the point where, look, if Kamala Harris was the president right now, just say, and there would have been a big pushback against Israel and all of these things, then, again, things would have played out differently.
Right.
Don't forget that in Biden's first year of his presidency, he did not want to meet with Netanyahu,
Right.
right? And Netanyahu was not invited to the White House for a year. So what did Netanyahu do? They went and arranged a meeting with the Chinese. It was announced, and 5 minutes later, he gets invited to the White House. At the end of the day, Israel has to do what's best by Israel.
Right.
Now, in the long run, is the United States going to be standing with Israel forever? Probably not. We've got to be honest. The presidents will change.
Right.
Right? If we get a far-right president next time, or some groper idiot, or we get some left-wing idiot next time, and there's no one centralized who understands this importance of this relationship, then Israel will change its path. And if that means stronger relationships with a country like China, so be it. We have to do what's best for us.
Right.
And so, again, I don't think America's in charge at all. I do think that a hell of a lot is in cooperation with the United States. It's amazing. All these conspiracy theorists in America say that Israel's in charge. And then here in Israel, everyone says that America's in charge. The truth is that we do have our own interests within this, right? When it comes to Iran, you could see that clearly. There were sites that we've attacked. There were sites that Americans attacked. The sites that we've asked America to attack for us. America hitting ballistic missile sites doesn't really, it's not within America's goals of this war necessarily, but it helps us tremendously because we don't have to deal with that.
Yeah.
And there's things like the Strait of Hormuz that we're going to be helping America deal with, right? That don't necessarily impact us directly. So, there's give and take within this relationship.
Yeah. The other day, Johnny, I saw that you posted, it was right after the ballistic missiles hit Arad, and you were trying to explain to people what had happened there, what the mishap was. and you hinted towards that we're not the only ones who are shooting down these what are they called? Anti-ballistic missiles. Who else is helping us? Is it something that you can talk about?
Yeah, there's a lot of the air defense is under complete censorship, understandably.
Okay.
But there are plenty of countries who work alongside Israel to make sure that missiles are intercepted when they're shot.
Is it something we should be worried about?
No, no, it's something that we should be grateful for. Look,
Do they have our best interests at heart?
unquestionably, none of these people want missiles to fall on Israel, right?
That makes me so nervous, though.
No,
When you
because
said that, it made me really nervous. It gave me flashbacks from October 7.
no, and I explain why. For example, and this is not under censorship, that CENTCOM, who are sitting here in Israel, the United States, have their own barrages that also shoot down ballistic missiles that are being shot towards Israel. And those systems with different styles of missiles to what we have it's shoulder to shoulder with the Israelis. And in every missile system, sometimes things go wrong, right? There's never 100% foolproof thing. It was miraculous that no one was killed
Right.
in the attacks on
True.
Arad and Dimon. Like, absolutely miraculous. But sometimes these things go wrong. You're never going to be 100%. And, people need to understand that there's, the air defense of Israel is something that is highly sensitive, obviously, and something that we don't, not everything is shared, and that's also for a reason.
Yeah. What do you think about closing down the airport or really minimizing?
Look, it's annoying for many, many people.
Yeah.
I was meant to be traveling for Pesach,
Oh, really?
right? Yeah, I was meant to be at a Pesach program speaking there, and my kids love it every year. We live here in Israel. For us to go to America for Pesach and
Yeah, for
have all that
sure.
extravagance, all that stuff is an amazing thing. But what are you going to do? Closing the airport is a very harsh thing to do to Israelis. Israelis love traveling.
Yes.
The period before Pesach is always the busiest period. It was meant to be the period in which most people travel throughout the year. And for that to be shut down or shut to a degree which is basically nothing is very, very harsh. Airlines lose millions and millions of dollars a day.
Yeah.
And it's not like,
Yeah.
none of them are happy about it. It's not a popular decision for the Ministry of Transport to make. Miri Regev, who unquestionably is a popularist, for her to make this decision is a big decision. However, it's a decision that's done within the perspective of the safety of the people.
Right.
And, today, when we're filming this, we see that there's been certain changes. By tomorrow, they may be changed back up. It's a fluid situation, so you just don't know.
Does that signify that there's going to be some kind of intensity to the war? That things are going to get.
No,
No?
no. It's just, look, there's a difference in terms of, when Iran shoot ballistic missiles with ballistic warheads towards us, it causes one level of damage. And when they shoot warheads with cluster missiles, it causes another level of damage.
Right.
One is a lot less likely to be killed if, for example, they're in a mamad from a cluster bomb, right? You're sitting in a mamad in a safe room, a cluster bomb even falls ahead, even hits the building. It's highly unlikely something happens to you. You should be fine. Like, truly, you should be okay. However, if a ballistic missile hits that place, and it hits even a mamad, you're in big, big, big trouble. The cluster missiles cause a lot more of a headache than anything else. This is the truth. In Arad, for example, what we saw was a ballistic missile, was not cluster. Clusters hit towards the airport and wrecked a couple of planes, private jets. However, sitting in a metal tube is a dangerous thing to do.
Yeah.
And the whole process of takeoff, landing less so. You're kind of, when you're landing, you're hitting the tarmac quickly, and then you can maneuver and get out. But the whole process of takeoff is a longer process, which is
Right.
why, for example, we can see flights come in full but only leave with X amount of people. So that's where the difference is, and it's a decision that was made, I think, with a very heavy heart. Like, no one wants it. Again, it's very, if for you, even before when you spoke about governments making decisions, with our safety more at mind, this is exactly that kind of decision. this is not a popular decision for a government to make.
No, no.
Truly a not popular decision, and also a decision that's massively. I know people who work at the airport. There's so many people coming every day. I've got a wedding, got a funeral, I've got a grandma, I've got medication. There's so many things. Like Israel is basically shut down to the outside world for now, and we're shutting ourselves down, and that's a painful position to be in, but a decision that's been made with the security and safety of the people in mind.
How do you feel about this whole war? I mean, how do you feel when you go into bomb shelters and you're mamad and hearing the sirens? How do you personally feel about it? Does it affect you?
No,
Do you get scared?
no, no, no,
No?
no. Fear is definitely not the feeling I have.
Do you
It
see the bigger picture? Is that the
Look,
way you look at it?
it's annoying. There isn't any question. It's annoying, and it's like, I live in the heart of Tel Aviv, and where I live, my building does not have a bomb shelter. I don't have one in my apartment, so I have to go to a nearby underground parking, which is a headache every time.
Yeah.
And when that goes off,
Especially in the middle of the night?
forget about it, right? And like the amount of times that I've either woken up thinking I've heard my phone go off, right? Like, oh my God, like, because for me, it's not just to go into another room. It's like I have to literally, like, wear my shoes, like my pants. I've got to make sure I have
Oh,
my
you don't
keys in
sleep
my
with your
pocket.
clothes on?
No, 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 no. Look, we have enough time. 8 minutes is more than
Okay.
enough in Tel Aviv. I usually got enough time to get up and wander over there annoyed and in the middle of the night. But I see the bigger picture, as do I think, the vast majority of Israelis. Interesting polling's been done, which has shown, like, they've asked people what they think about the war, and there's a direct correlation with people who have safe rooms in their apartments to people who are happy that the war is going on and think it's a good thing to people who don't think the war is a good thing. So, there's a lot more stress on not having a safe room in your apartment. And those people tend to be more skeptical about the war as opposed to people who can simply go in a room and shut the door and carry on going to sleep. My personal feeling, even as someone who does not have a safe room in their apartment, is that this war is absolutely necessary.
Yeah.
And to be honest with you, I'm very happy about it.
Really?
I'm very happy about it. I've been in Israel for 21 years. I started in politics in Israel in like 2011, 2012. Maybe before that, I didn't remember, 2010 perhaps. From that time, all we've been talking about is Iran. It was Ahmadinejad. It was the threat of Iran. It was the threat of bombs. It was the threat of them becoming nuclear. And with that constant threat ahead of us, it was always a situation in which it needed to be dealt with. And the fact that it's being dealt with is a very, very good thing right now.
Why hasn't it been dealt with before?
I just don't think it was.
Like, couldn't have October 7th have been avoided?
Had we have dealt with Iran?
Yeah.
Probably not, to be honest with you. Look, Hamas would have been.
I know coulda, shoulda, woulda, coulda, but
Yeah,
still.
look, as much as Hamas is funded by. There was funding for Hamas from Iran. There was funding for Hamas from other places as well. A lot of the funding from us come from Qatar and from other things. I don't think knocking out just Iran would have dealt with Hamas, right? It would have definitely stopped the flow to Hezbollah in the north, right? The Houthis wouldn't have had missiles, right? So many of our enemies wouldn't have been. But I don't think that would have seen a direct correlation between that, and also it wasn't the right time in terms of dealing with Iran. You needed a very specific situation, which included partnership with an ally. We could have taken Iran on alone. We would have been able to do that. But having the Americans with us is a complete game changer. And I have to tell you that, there are all these people kind of attempting to understand why, how, what happened with Trump and all of these things. I first met President Trump when he was just a TV celebrity. And this was in, I think, 2012, 2013. And I sat with him multiple times in his office in New York City and by his pool in one of the golf clubs. And we talk. And one of the conversations.
How did you get to him?
That's a whole long story, but I was working for the Likud party at the time. And part of my work was basically outreach. And as a result of such, met with a lot of very interesting people. And he was just one of them. He was a celebrity.
Yeah. What was he like? What is he like?
Exactly what you see on the TV. Like very, very straightforward, sharpshooter. Ask what he wants to ask, and your short attention span. But very nice, truly nice. I was young at the time, it was my mid-20s, and I'd sit with him, and almost every time we'd sit, the topic of Iran would come up. Almost every time. And Mr. Trump back then would be like, Johnny, explain to me the intrafuges. And I'd explain, what that meant and all of these things, and he'd say, I don't get why you guys aren't just bombing them. Like, what are you waiting for? Like, these people, he understood it even back then as just a businessman in New York City. And to see this approach of him right now, people can dislike him for all the internal political stuff, and I get that. I don't live in America. That's not my thing. But in terms of understanding the situation here, and his support of Israel has been steadfast from day one.
Right.
From day one.
Right.
And there's a massive difference in terms of how Israelis view President Trump as opposed to Americans. President Trump here, if he was, when he finishes being president of America, if he came here and ran for president, he'd get it in a second. People love him, right? Israelis love him,
Yeah.
truly, and across the board, and appreciative for what he's done for Israel, and for us, we've never. When people say this is the best president that has ever been for the state of Israel, there's no question that that's the case.
For sure. I mean, he helped get us out a lot of the hostages, right?
100%. The pressure that he put on Hamas, and his understanding of the situation, and the work of Kushner and Witkoff has been unbelievable, right? When you look at a situation and of someone who just gets it, like, this is the thing with Trump, and this is the thing that a lot of people don't like, but it's black and white. There's good and there's bad, right? There's not much of a middle ground, and Hamas is bad, right? It's not to attempt to humanize evil is a very stupid thing. And unfortunately, this is what we see from too many people around the world, even from the lack of willing of European governments to accept or understand that what is happening is evil here, and Iran is an evil, evil, evil. The Iranian regime is an evil regime who want to inflict terror across the world without understanding that you can't understand how things really work.
Quick pause, because there's something I want to tell you about that I'm genuinely loving. I've partnered up with Groovim Socks, an Israeli sock brand that knows how to have fun with identity. Their designs cover everything from Theodore Herzl to shakshuka, culture, humor, and personality that you can actually wear. And honestly, if you're like me and have a hard time choosing gifts for people, this is the perfect option. It's fun, thoughtful, and something people can actually use. And here's the deal. When you order 3 or more pairs, you get 45 shekels off. Just use the link in the description below, or say my name, Dayna, Dayna, at the checkout, and you'll get your discount. Now back to the episode. Do you think that your advocacy helps change the opinions of people who believe that Hamas are good? I think, like you said, some people are just stupid. Some people are ignorant. My guest yesterday said they're all evil. But we have a lot of Hasbara out there. I think there's a certain population that are not going to be convinced no matter what you say.
100%. I mean, I'm not attempting to convince anybody. If you don't want to listen to what I have to, I don't care, right? It's not. For as long as there've been Jewish people, there've been people who hate us,
right?
Right. Anti-Semitism is not a new thing, right? This is something that people say the internet's made it worse than ever before. No, it hasn't. Right. Prior to the Holocaust, there wasn't internet. Right. Anti-Semitism spread through churches and through whispering. Right. Okay, it's always been there. You're never going to beat that,
right?
And this is what we need to understand. Yeah, I'm not interested in debating an anti-Semite. I'm not going to waste my energy on that. I couldn't care less. Let him stew in his hatred. What do I care? I'm not going to waste.
But we want to also prevent these things from happening again. And a
You're
lot of
not.
people believe that Holocaust education or trying to, tell the truth about Israel is going to make some kind of impact.
Well, there are people around the world who are open to hearing and understanding. There is no question of that. And there are many, many good people. However, there are always going to be idiots. And when the case is connected to these idiots, it's best just not to waste your time,
Right.
right? This is the honest truth. You see all these Mamdani, right? I wouldn't meet him. I wouldn't sit with him. I wouldn't talk to him. No interest. I've been invited every year for the last goodness knows how many years to Gracie Mansion for the Hanukkah parties. I spend a lot of time in the States. If I was invited this come, if there is a Hanukkah party under Mamdani, I was invited. I wouldn't go. I have no interest. I'm not going to speak to someone. Sadiq Khan, the mayor of London, same thing. I'm not wasting my time. Keir Starmer, not wasting my time. I have no interest in it. If there are people who are actually interested to learn and have a conversation, sure, I'm happy to have a conversation with you. I'm happy to debate issues with you, right? Because I know what the truth is. And truth isn't subjective. There is one truth,
Right.
right? It's not the whole, like religion is something that we can all debate on. Fair enough, right? And that's understandable because religion is something that people have differences in opinion on. Okay. But when it comes to things that are
Happened.
yeah, well, and are truthful, then there isn't a place of debate, and so I don't bother with that stuff. Do I know for a fact that people have seen things differently as a result of my advocacy? Absolutely, and I'm very happy and proud about that. And I know that my stuff is viewed by people who would shock you, right? And who see this perspective and understand it, but also know that there are people who disagree.
Right.
And if someone writes a negative comment or something, I don't give them space or energy. I block them straight away.
Oh, really?
Couldn't care less.
You spend energy blocking people?
Only if I don't get much negativity at all, to be perfectly honest.
Really?
Yeah, very, very, very little. And when someone does something, I just block them. Or people send me stupid messages. People who not true. Someone will write to me. You know,
Are you like a big proponent of trying to bring people to make Aliyah? Or are you not convincing, trying to convince people? Because
look,
especially in England, right? You're British, obviously. I saw your post and what happened there with the Hatsala ambulance. People are not getting it.
Look, I mean, people are saying. I don't think there's anywhere that's particularly wonderful right now. It's interesting. People point at the UK. Canada, in my opinion, is
For sure.
far
Well,
worse.
yeah, Canada's gone.
No, but Canada for me is probably one of the scariest places. Is Australia. In the UK, I think the one thing that you have in the UK that you don't have in Canada is patriotism on part of the population.
Oh, really?
Canada is a country of apologists. Literally, people just say sorry all the time, right?
We still do.
Yeah, no, but you're sorry,
Even
sorry,
when we
sorry,
moved to
sorry, sorry.
Israel.
And then, and like the Canadian flag is not a thing, right? You start everything with a land acknowledgement. And when you acknowledge that the land is not yours, then who are you to stop someone else coming in? Which is why, for me, Canada I see as more of a problem in the long run than the UK. I think the UK right wing politics, again, and there's a lot of negativity that comes with that as well, right? You look at political parties in the UK who are growing in strength massively, are talking about, for example, banning halal meat, but also lumping in kosher slaughter with that as well, right? So it's not a great situation for Jews in the diaspora. But also, again, I'm very hesitant. I don't tell people what to do, right? It is not my place to tell others what to do. Now, do I attempt I attempt to live my life a certain way, and if by that example others follow, then I'm happy with that. But it's absolutely not my place to tell people what to do. Do I believe that Israel is the best place in the world? Absolutely. Do I believe that it's the best place for Jews? Unquestionably, right? But in every circumstance and situation, is it the best for everybody? No. It just isn't. It's still hard here.
Yeah, it's very hard.
And we have to acknowledge that, right? I also get the perspective that the hardship that you feel will give your children a better life, right? So, people say, well, blah, 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 blah. It's like, okay, so you're going to eat crap, and you will, right? Look at the million Russian olim who came in, and psychologists and doctors and professors and surgeons having
Yeah.
to clean apartments.
Look, not even them. My grandparents, when they moved to Canada after the Holocaust, my grandfather, I said this before, sold chickens. My grandmother, like, they had a very hard life. But then the next generation had it easier. And that's the way I feel about living here. I know it's hard for me, but for my kids, life is definitely much easier.
100%. And so this is also always the question. And this has
Right,
been the Jewish question for thousands of years as well.
right.
Right? When do we leave? What do we leave? At what point is it too dangerous? So again, making Aliyah is an incredibly personal decision that people have to make themselves. If people ask me, should I say yes. Right? Because I do think still, unquestionably, it's the best place to be a Jew. Unquestionably. And especially now. What we're seeing on one hand is a rise of anti-Semitism around the world that isn't going anywhere.
No.
The genie's been let out of the bottle, and it really is there to stay for the foreseeable future. And there's nothing that we can do about it.
What do you think is going to happen?
I- It,
Where do
it,
you, to what extent do you think it's going to get?
there will be countries in which it becomes purely impractical to be Jewish. And there are certain European countries in which, when you look at and look, my politics have stayed exactly the same for the last probably 30 years. And exactly the same. What's been interesting is see everybody else fall into that path. I've had a very set and understanding direction. Now, what we're seeing with the growth of radical Islam around the world is what is leading to almost all of these anti-Semitism, obviously besides the far right and far left and all of that. But the real anti-Semitic attacks that we're seeing, especially through Europe and North America, are Islamists. Now, are these communities growing and thriving within Western democracies? Yes, they are.
Yeah.
That doesn't go away. Right? People are like, oh, well, we're going to get rid of the Muslims. No, you're not. Well, you're going to get around them. Of course you're not. It doesn't work. You live in a democracy. You're an idiot. Right? You can't deal with this. You're done. And so when you look at countries, for example, like Belgium, right, who are just completely overrun,
Right.
it's done. So that's where it will lead to eventually, is a position where it becomes purely uncomfortable to be Jewish in those places. Is your life in imminent danger constantly? No. But why the hell do you want to bring your kid up like that?
Is Israel prepared to absorb all of the Jews all over the world?
I don't know if Israel's prepared, but will it be able to? Absolutely. Absolutely. You've driven to Eilat.
Yes.
You see how much space there is?
Yes, but I
But
don't know.
what? And if the Negev was good enough for Ben Gurion, it's good enough for you.
That's right.
Right?
That's right.
Okay, so again, like, is it the most comfortable thing? Is it the best thing? People say, well, I've got my house and I've got 5 bedrooms and then blah, 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 blah. Okay, so you move into a smaller apartment. Again, you're doing this for future generations.
Right.
Right? So, there's never, discomfort is part of life, right? We want to live in this comfortable way. Okay, so, again, is it an imminent for Jews in Britain and Canada to leave? No. Right? Is something going to happen tomorrow? No. Is this 1930s? No. This isn't pre-Holocaust. Jews are not being rounded up. Jews are not being killed. Jews are not being put in ghettos. All of the people saying that don't know what they're talking about. Right? I have sat with and met with thousands of Holocaust survivors. What happened to them will not happen to Jewish people today. Period. Period.
How could you be so certain?
Because we have the state of Israel. And if it gets real bad, then people can get up and leave. And they can come somewhere where the food is nicer and the weather's better. And from a perspective of Israel, today we're in a position that's better than we've been in thousands of years, quite literally. We are entering a golden age of the Jewish people here in the state of Israel. We're soon going to be in a position where Iran is done. The head of the octopus, as we call it in Hebrew, the people responsible for all of this terror that we've seen against the state of Israel. Hamas are basically not a factor. Hezbollah will be finished. Syria no longer poses a threat. We're in a position that we haven't been in. This is a golden age of the Jewish people. You look at the technology coming out of Israel in
Right.
every sector. You look at the strength of Israel. The fact that we are now, even the fact that within this war, we have hit places connected to the Syrian army to protect the Jewish people, is a position and a move of a superpower. This isn't a move of a regional player. Israel is a superpower in terms of Middle East, unquestionably, and in terms of internationally as well. We literally are becoming a superpower, and this is a phenomenal place for us to be in. Do people not like us? Sure, but Jews thrive within that. And this is honestly, we're in a position that is very, very strong, and will only get better. You seem unconvinced.
It's not that I'm unconvinced. Maybe I'm just really tired.
Fair enough.
But I'm just tired of being like the scapegoat, the underdog, the nation that people hate all the time. Sometimes it affects me more than others. More than other times. I feel like I'm just tired of it already. I'm tired of, like, I believe also, like you, that this war is very just, but it's really hard always getting screwed, over being in this position where we have to absorb all of these missiles and everything for the sake of the greater good. And I feel like our position has been that throughout history. We can't escape it.
And we won't escape it. They say that we're the chosen people. Chosen for what? Exactly.
I
What? Getting
know.
missiles, right? It's not. This is the way of the Jew. There's bad times and difficult times, unquestionably. And there have been through our history. And we know all too well. From the Inquisition, to the expulsions, to the Holocausts, to the pogroms. This has always been the case. Always. But there's also always been good times as Jewish people as well.
Yeah.
And it is difficult. And there isn't any question that we are going through a hard period. This is a hard period. It is not easy, right? On one hand, the rise in anti-Semitism around the world is through the roof,
Yeah.
right? The living here in Israel right now is hard. We're saying this from the comfort of central Israel, right? Imagine being the north of Israel right
Yeah.
now, but being
Yeah, I look on the
pummeled,
application like every 15 minutes they're having us
pummeled,
at work.
hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of
Yeah.
missiles a day,
Yeah.
shot towards the northern communities, being up there, literally sitting ducks, right? It's petrifying, right? And
Does
it's
the government realize, like, does it have compassion for those people?
unquestionably has. It's a very difficult situation. Look, what are you meant to do? I mean, these people are. This is why we're taking the fight to Hezbollah. Like, we don't want that situation to be the case. There's not any government saying, "Oh, that's okay," right? Again, everyone has. Israel's a small country. We all have family everywhere, right? All of us understand that. We all have family up north. When I made Aliyah, I lived up north. I get it, understand it, and I think government does as well. But again, back to the initial point that this is unfortunately part and parcel of who we are. I don't think you get to experience the really great times without understanding the bad times as well. And
Yeah.
and and I'm it's not this is not an empty promise in telling you that great times are coming. Truly. Throughout every part of Jewish liturgy and Jewish learning and Jewish understanding, we understand that, to have the biggest aliyah, we first have to have a yerida, right? You go down before you go up, right? It's a springboard, right? You jump and then you get thrown up. And we're jumping real far down right now. The last couple of years have been very, very hard on all of us. But from that low place, there's only one place that we go, and that is up. And that up is going to be remarkable, truly. More than anything else, like people right now who are aliyah, not aliyah, this, that, invest in property in Israel right now,
Yeah, I've heard
right?
that. Yeah.
Like, I mean, the dollar's terrible, but it's a good time and a smart time to be thinking about it. First of all, yes, as a plan B, every Jew should have a plan B. We've always had plan Bs through history, right? It's a place to run to and escape to if you need, and you might need it, let's be honest, and Israel is that place for you. But again, as a safe haven for the Jewish people, and this is why I say, like, this is a tricky time, but also what an amazing time.
Yeah.
Again, when I think of the thousands of Holocaust survivors who I met with, and all the people, I wear this bracelet every single day. It's number 85454. And this was given to me by Edward Mossberg, who was a Holocaust survivor. It was incredibly close. He was like a grandfather to me.
Oh, wow.
And I sat with Eddie for countless hours, and many other survivors. And you hear their stories, and you understand. Imagine the loneliness you would have felt as a Jew 80 years ago. Just 80 years ago. When no one cared. No one. Right? We all talk about the heroes of the Second World War. Did any of them really care about the Jews? It was okay. No one went to the to fight in the Second World War to save the Jews. It was a byproduct.
Right.
The American army was not told about the concentration camps. You know why? Because they didn't want to let the troops think that they were fighting to save the Jews, because it might demoralize them.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So, we've gone from a place where 80 years ago we were rounded up and mass murdered with zero perspective of hope. What hope do you have? Who's coming to help you? No one cared. To a place where we are today, where arguably we have the strongest army in the world. Right? Is the American army bigger? Of course. In terms of dynamic, in terms of strength, in terms of understanding. I don't think there's anybody who comes close to us. And this is a position of, you look at Jewish history. And I think that we have to always attempt to look at ourselves in a broader picture, right? And understand that we are a very small part in a very long line of Jewish people. And from a perspective of Jewish history, what we're going through now, even October 7th,
right,
it was unbelievably sad and difficult and heartbreaking. But this was the equivalent to half an hour in the Holocaust. This was a pogrom. Not to minimize, God forbid.
Yeah. I was going to ask you that because a lot of people compare the Holocaust to
No
October
comparison.
7th.
No comparison.
Obviously, in terms of the numbers and in terms of the
Look,
whole
again,
thing.
it was a pogrom, and the pogroms were horrendous, and they're awful things, and it's horrendously bad, right? But in terms of comparing this to anything else, is just wrong.
Do you remember your day of October 7th?
Yeah.
Where you were? Were you here in Israel?
I was not. I traveled with my kids for Simchat Torah. We'd gone for the weekend to Cyprus.
Oh.
And we were in Cyprus. We'd literally gone to spend the weekend there and have a bit of a break. And we'd get up in the morning, and I had a weird experience. It was about 5:30 in the morning, and I had a nightmare. And I shot up, and I don't know what I did, but I made a noise and it woke my kids up. And they're like, "What are you doing? It's 5:30 in the morning." I had this terrible dream. I had this nightmare. They're like, "What's the nightmare?" I said, "This nightmare that I was in my house and bad people came in, and I forgot how to fight."
Aye.
And I fell back asleep. And then my phone starts going zip, 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 zip. I'm like, what the hell's going on? And, every Israeli, especially if I've been in the army, something like that something's off. So I call a friend in the army. And I said, this is maybe 6:45. I said, and I don't use my phone, I'm usually on Chag and stuff. I said, what the hell's going on? What's up? We're under attack. I'm like, stop bullshitting. I'm like, what are you talking about? And I couldn't believe it. And I quickly turned the news on, and you see all this happening, and just unbelievable shock. And with my kids, we're out, and I called my ex-wife, and throughout the day, and we're talking, and I'm like, well, what am I going to do with the kids? Like, I'm not going to bring them back to Israel to put them in this. Like, it's stupid. So I ended up flying them to London and leaving them there for quite a long period.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it just, why bring them back to experience missiles and bomb shelters if you don't need to? Like, they've experienced enough of that in their short lives.
Do you feel like other people should leave Israel when we're under attack? Other Jews should leave? Do you think it's the right thing for us to do to leave the country when we're under attack?
Look, I didn't leave. I was out anyway.
No, I
But
know
to come
that.
back
I
in,
know.
but for example, now,
I'm asking you that. I'm sorry to interrupt you. I'm
yeah,
asking you that because, especially now during this period of time, there's been a lot of Americans, especially students, who their parents are working desperately to get them out of the
which I
country.
understand. It's a very, very, very scary thing. Look, I travel a lot for work. I cannot tell you how many times I have been thankful to God that I'm here right now. There have been other periods in which the war has happened over the last 2 years, I think even the 12-day war with Iran, that I was outside of Israel. I was desperate to come back. Not because I love war and experiencing this, I hate it, but the thought of being far away from my children is awful. And I understand it because I live here.
Yeah.
If I was a parent of a child who was in another country during a war, I would want them out. I have no, like, all these people getting angry with American parents saying that their kids are stuck and all of these things. That's also a stupid way to look at this. These parents are scared, and I
Yeah.
get it.
Yeah.
Like,
You want your kids close.
I get it. You got a
Yeah.
kid, like, also, we have to be honest as well. I don't think people are saying this. Teenagers at those ages are idiots. They're stupid. Teenagers do stupid things.
Yeah.
They don't make good decisions, right? All the images that you see on the news of rockets coming and being shot in the air, almost always stupid
Kids.
teenagers,
Yeah.
because they behave stupidly, right? They're not. They're invincible, right? I'm experiencing this with I have a daughter who's almost 17. I'm experiencing that. I'm like, you're not going out tonight, right? You're not going out with your friends. You're not going to Jerusalem. You're not doing these things. And we've had these huge fights over the last few weeks. I'd lose half of them, right? But it's petrifying as a parent,
Yes.
right? And I live
Yes.
here, and she's smart, and she gets it, and she does go into a bomb shelter. But if I was a parent of a kid who lived here in Israel, and I didn't understand what was happening, I'd be absolutely petrified. So I get the parents that want their kids out. I 100% understand it. I also understand people like what actually I don't like are the people who want to come here now for no good reason. I think that's silly. I think it's a strain on this on society. We don't need it right now, right? Tourism right now, forget about it. 300 plus hotels in Israel are closed anyway. No one expects tourism right now. It's not like you have an unlimited budget. Wait until after the war. Come like a mensch where you don't have to run in a shelter, and you're going to want to leave at some point, which means you're going to take the place of someone getting on a plane who actually needs to leave. Coming to Israel right now is a bad idea unless you need to.
Yeah.
And I've never said that before either. Whenever anyone said, like, should I come to Israel? Whatever the period, come. Right now, don't come. There is no need for you to be here as a tourist. If you've got a kid here or something, fine, I get it. But if you're coming here just as part of some kind of war tourism, unnecessary, stay at home.
Yeah. It's different outside now. You notice like when people go out, they're going out just for necessity and they're coming right back home.
We're exhausted. Look,
Yeah.
right now we're in a position, again, who knows what it will be. Every day is changing,
Yeah.
right? The amount of missiles being shot towards Israel, decreased and then have bumped up slightly. We're seeing maybe about 15 a day now. And, Iranians, while the Iranian regime, whilst they're assholes, they're not idiots,
Right.
right? And they're doing it in a way that the shooting is, set at specific times throughout the day. It's being shot at specific areas throughout the day. So you have an entire country who's feeling this,
Yeah.
right? And we are feeling it. There isn't any question of that. So, within that comes a responsibility that we get at Israelis. And again, the fact that most Israelis are still happy about this war and standing behind the government is just a testament to how strong we are as a Jewish people and as Israelis.
Well, Israelis are really strong. People say Israelis are really strong, but it does come out in different ways.
Of course.
I mean, the whole country right now has some kind of post-traumatic disorder from
No, they
what's been
don't.
going on.
No. It's not post. We're still in it.
Well,
It's acute.
acute trauma from
The-
what's going on
The,
right
the
now.
post will come after, and that's
Yeah.
scarier. There isn't any question. Look, I mean,
Is the government aware of all the turmoil that we're in right now?
What the hell are they meant to do? Well,
I don't
like,
know, provide services for people,
what? How many shrinks do you want to provide? Look, what? Like, in all honesty, what are you meant to do? We are a nation who has trauma as part of our DNA. It is what made us what we
What
are.
about the physical sense? What about all the elderly people who are, I did a shift in Mada on Shabbat. You know how many elderly people can't get out of their apartments during an Asaka? I asked them, what do you guys do? And they're like, we just sit and pray.
You can't help everybody. It's not a nice thing to say, but it's the truth. Look,
I'm not asking you for the
no,
answers.
no,
I
but
just want your opinion.
no, but I'm telling you, like, look, I look at the shelter next to where I am. There's a 94-year-old lady who's in the shelter, and she's been literally sleeping and sitting on the same chair. I've tried a million times to help get her a bed. The problem is that it's too difficult for her to get up and down. At home, she has help and all of this stuff. So I said to her, look, there are hotels that are providing places for anybody over 80 years old. Why don't you go there instead of living underground in a parking lot? And she's like, well, at least here I'm in the shelter the whole time. There, I still have to get from the bedroom to the mamad to the safe room to all of this. There are a lot of decisions that people make personally. And a lot of elderly people who have been given an opportunity say, would you like to leave? And I'm like, well, if I'm going to get killed, at least it's be in my living room, right? And this is this is a mindset of old people, right? Forget about it. What, I'm going to get up and try and run every time? And unfortunately, sad things happen, like we saw in Ramadan with a couple in their 70s. You know, he had his walking aid next to him, and he was unable to get there in time, clearly. And it is very, very sad, and there is trauma, and there will be a tremendous amount of post-trauma after this, and all of us feel it, right? You know, I hate the sound of electric cars. There's that like roar, that whir, and every time I hear it, I go like that because I think something's about to happen. Or we had huge thunderstorms in Tel Aviv yesterday.
Yes.
It drove me nuts.
Yes.
Every boom,
Yes.
like I felt myself getting tense.
Yes.
As if I was waiting for a rocket to fall.
Yeah.
This isn't a normal way to live. However, we live in a little bit of privilege where we've got used to living in a utopia of safety. That's also not real life. Real life comes with trauma. Real life comes with difficulty. We're meant to use these experiences to build from. Will there be people who are unable to build from this and experience unbelievable hardship? Yes, and for them, there'll be, I'm sure, psychiatrists and psychologists and medication. At least today we're understanding this. Right? In the past, it was, you know, what are you talking about? Pull your socks up, be tough.
Right.
Like, what do you mean you're crying?
Sorry.
Right? It is hard.
Yeah.
It's hard, but this trauma and this difficulty, if used correctly, also enables us to build. And this is truly, when you look at the unbelievable contribution of the Jewish people to the world, it has come from that place. If we were living in this bubble of utopia and privilege for the last 2,000 years, people don't work hard, right? You know, all the millionaires, like, just as an example, you look at the billionaires. How often are their kids that successful?
It's true.
Very rarely.
It's true.
Because they've not had to fight.
Right.
They've grown up in a bubble of utopia.
Yeah.
Right? And so when you have to push through something, you grow from it. So yes, these are hard times, but these are hard times that we will build from. And this is also our role as parents, right? And people involved in community is to consistently remind people of that. That yes, these times are hard, but it doesn't mean that everyone's going to fall to pieces.
Right.
Right?
Right.
I'm exhausted, right? As we all are, right? I'm ready to flip at anybody who comes to me right now.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So, someone wrote to me the other day on Instagram. I shared something factual. I'm very careful what I post. Someone wrote to me, they just wrote "not true" and linked this two-bit journalist who knows nothing as proof that I did something not wrong. I spent maybe an hour proving this person wrong. And I ripped into them, right? Would I have done that in regular times? Probably not. I would have just let it be,
Right.
right? Was this me letting out some aggression on some idiot
Yeah.
on Instagram? Absolutely.
Yeah.
But it made me feel real good, right? And that's also important.
Yeah, we need a release.
You're and if it's crying, right, which is also a release and completely understandable these times, or whatever it is, it's allowed. And this is the point that yes, we're experiencing extreme trauma. However, again, when we look at ourselves as Jews and as part of Jewish history, the trauma that we're experiencing is nothing comparative to what we've experienced in the past. Right? And we can't lose sight of that.
All right.
You look at Holocaust survivors, what they went through and then went on to build. You kidding me?
Yep.
And what we're experiencing today is not 1% of
You're
what
right.
they went through.
Yeah, we're totally spoiled compared to them.
Compared to them. Again, that's not to
Relatively.
diminish
Right.
our
No.
trauma,
Right.
because everybody's trauma is legitimate.
Correct.
Everybody's trauma is legitimate, right? You know, there's no bigger heartbreak than breaking up with a partner, right? And when you're in the midst of that feeling of you're just every part of your being is that person, and all the nonsense. All of us have experienced that at some point in our life, and you look back at it after, you think, what an idiot,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
You know, but at that time, that trauma was the most acute, painful thing, that it didn't matter what you did, everything was around that issue.
Right.
And at that time, that person needs that help. And it's legitimate to give them that help. But all of us can't lose the idea of the bigger picture of all of this. And the bigger picture of all of this is that we are living in unbelievable times. And we are literally stepping into truly a golden age. Is the golden age of Jews in America done? Yes. That's finished. And everyone will tell you it is. Does that mean Jews need to leave America? It doesn't. But this golden age with all this stuff, finished, unfortunately. Right? Where you had this broad respect and understanding of Jews and political, on the left, on the right, everybody got it.
Right.
Nowadays it's finished. Okay. So we step into the next phase. And all that's going to do is make the younger generation stronger and better. And sometimes as Jews, we need a slap in the face to remind us that we're Jews.
Yes, unfortunately. Unfortunately. I ask all my guests this, but what is your favorite part of living in Israel? What do you like the most about living here?
My favorite part of living in Israel, it's honestly everything. There's no one particular thing that I can lean on to being like, that is my favorite part of living here. I love living here.
Really?
I love it. I'm a pretty decisive person. I want to make a decision, I'm with it. But often in life, you can make a decision and wonder afterwards, did I do the right thing? Didn't I do the right thing? You can overthink. That is not a problem of mine at all. I don't ever. Once I've done something, that's it. But not even for a millisecond have I ever thought, well, would my life have been better had I lived outside of Israel? This truly is the greatest place in the world. Truly.
Were you educated that way? Did you have a Zionistic education?
So no, look, when it comes to living here in Israel, there's nowhere better. I think for me, it's just everything. It's the chagim that you feel them. It's we're home. What's better than feeling at home? This belongs to me. I belong here.
Why do you think some people feel that and some people don't? Like I also, when I was raised, from a very young age, my dream was to come here. I don't know what it was. I always felt this pull to live in Israel. And even though my life has been far from perfect here, never felt like I wanted to leave. I never want to leave. This is my home. But there are some people who they don't have that feeling at all.
Some people like chocolate, other people don't. I just think people feel differently to different things. I think part of it is the way you're brought up. I think. I honestly don't know. I mean, it's not there, and that's okay as well. People are allowed to feel different
Yeah,
things.
for
Look,
sure.
I've traveled all around the world. Something like 70 countries. What's my favorite place? Everywhere is awesome. The world's a beautiful world. There's beauty everywhere and in everything if you want to look for it, right? And so people feel differently about different things. And I don't think there's something to be said necessarily for, you know, for feeling a certain way or not.
All right. I wanted to ask you one more thing about your organization From the Depths,
Yeah.
right? How has it changed since October 7th, or has it changed? Has your focus changed a little bit?
Look, I think, you know, the good thing about running a foundation that is small and dynamic is that we're able to adapt to needs. You know, when you're dealing with things like Holocaust education and Israel advocacy, and general humanitarian support, you find yourself in different positions. When the war with Ukraine started, we found ourselves. I was in Ukraine 7 times in the first year of the war.
Oh,
We were
wow.
responsible for helping thousands of Jews get out,
Really?
helping Holocaust survivors who were stuck there, righteous amongst the nations. So we pivoted and helped with that. When after October 7th, we did a tremendous amount of work here in Israel, also supporting people who needed that help and support.
Like what kind of situations, for example?
Here in Israel,
Yeah.
I mean, everything from people who couldn't live in their homes anymore to helping them buy basic and simple things to people who needed to go, helping them get out, like many, many, many different things, like truly many things. And I think that this is the strength of being small and dynamic and not set on one thing. And, you know, the Israel advocacy has always been a huge part of it. Dealing with Holocaust survivors after October 7th has been very interesting. I think for those, it's not been easy for them, obviously, to see. It's been
Yeah.
very harrowing for survivors to see this. And so
What
that
kind of services do you provide for them?
we don't provide services per se. You know, there are many organizations receiving billions of dollars to do that. For us, it's more connected when we're dealing with Holocaust survivors, it's connected to different programs that we have. Everything from interviewing and recording survivors to this survivor tour project that we have where we meet with the survivors and they take part in this project. And there's mainly things like that. So traveling and meeting survivors around the world and getting their testimony has been a big part of what we do and continue to do.
Super important. Yeah. Yeah. Well, Jonny Daniels, thank you so much for taking the time and coming out here. You
Absolutely.
made me feel a little bit better.
Good.
Yeah,
Good,
for
good,
sure.
good.
You have a very positive energy. You're very confident, and your love for Am Yisrael and Israel is coming out of you. I don't emanates from you. Thank you
Look,
so much.
at the end of the day, this really is what it's all about. Humanity has the opportunity to do right and to do what's good. Unfortunately, it tends to pick the opposite way, right? And people really can be no good. For those people, there's no need to throw ourselves into that area. We need to concentrate on building and getting better and focusing on what's good. And the more time that we spend focusing on negativity, the more that negativity impacts us.
Right.
And I think that this is where people lose sight of it.
We have to put our energy into glowing even brighter.
Yeah, and like, you know, even without all the buzzwords and the things around that, like the more time you spent sat reading idiots on Instagram, right? The less time you have to do something that's nice,
Right.
right? Don't doom scroll. It helps no one ever. Stop it. Spend that time that you were going to sit there and scroll through all of Miss Rachel's crap, right? And go on to some good page and read some positive news. You're going to feel better about yourself. You're not going to wind yourself up. You're not going to become anxious. There's no point in it.
Yeah, for sure.
Just, you know, and this is the thing that people need to stop doing is all of that crap and all of these millions of, you know, I don't follow any of these news pages that publish all these triggering pictures all the time. It just make you run nuts.
Right.
You don't need like
No, you can go about your day without seeing that and be totally fine.
it's totally fine, and you don't need the images of everything. Like I very rarely post images of missile hits and all of these things. I don't think it's necessary. Why? Right? To trigger people's memories. Like after October 7th, the first thing I did was make a decision that I'm not sharing any images of the sexual abuse and those kinds of images. Didn't want to. I don't think there's a need for it.
Yeah.
If people want to search that out, they can, right? But what benefit is there in that? And all it does is trigger everybody every single time again. So we need to stop with that. We need to take, we're all talking about mental health. We need to start with ourselves. And to have clear mental health, you have to have a clear mind. And a clear mind comes from positivity and goodness and decency. If it's through prayer in the morning or meditation or whatever you want to do to make yourself clear of mind or breathing work. But all of us need to concentrate on these things that will bring us an internal calm. Because from that, things only get better. Thank you for having me.
בשמחה רבה, באמת, באהבה.
Thank you. And
You're always welcome.
Thank you for my Menachem bacon socks. I love them.
Yes. Please take a picture of them when you wear them.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'd love to see it.
Absolutely. Thank you.
בשמחה. Thank you, everyone, for watching and listening. Am Yisrael Chai.
Amen.
Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of The Dayna Show. If you like what you heard, you can subscribe to the podcast, like and share with your friends on social media, and rate us 5 stars. Don't forget to tune in next week, and we'll see you then.